All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give our praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom Tada Akim out there preaching his word in truth and sincerity. It's your brother Shamar coming back with another lesson. Lord's will, the audio is cool. It's my first time, doing it on my laptop and everything, using the program to screen record and get the audio and all. So Lord's will, the audio come out cool and everything at the end of the video. But, in this video, I want to go into pretty much how Esau, he's hitting everyone, making the people feel that the squeeze, so-called, economically, all right? Because this plays a role into making the people, want to lean more upon him for help. Because by them feeling the squeeze, they barely hanging on by a thread, and most people not even hanging, barely scraping by at all. All right, and that's going to help pretty much make people want to just be more willing to take that mark when he pushes it, man, or introduces it, because he ain't really going to even have to force you to take it necessarily, even though it's going to be mandatory at a certain point. Most people are going to take it out of necessity, just like when back in 2020 we was talking about this at camp the other day. He didn't have to force people to take it. In a sense, he did by making those measures out here in the Bay Area where you couldn't do certain things if you didn't have it, but he didn't make you have to literally take it, Now what had happened? People still willingly took it out of necessity because they wanted to keep their job if their job was on the line, or they wanted to continue living a normal life, to be able to travel, go, to the restaurant, go out, do this and that. So same thing now with the economically, so to speak, how people are feeling the squeeze. It's getting so bad to the point where you're basically having to decide, are you going to pay rent, or are you going to put food on the table? Are you going to skip this bill to pay that bill? Are you going to, get a cash advance off your credit card, or payday advance? All right, take out a loan. All right, a lot of people are done, man. And all right, and I got a clip, and I asked ChatGPT some stuff too that goes into it, as well as having some precepts. But Esau is really hitting you people with the squeeze, man, and it's been happening, within these last, I would say, even more so, within the last 5 years, all right, since the pandemic started, because that's kind of what messed things up, and then made it, escalate even faster. And now, things are just getting even more worse because you got AI on the way. It's going to replace all these jobs, all right, as well as a lot of people not even finding jobs out there as well, and jobs are getting cut, different roles, okay? But I'm going to play this clip and then, grab a precept and hit the different points, like I said, in ChatGPT.
A new report is helping explain why it can be so hard to make it here in the Bay. New numbers show that in nearly half of the Bay Area, you can make over $100,000 a year and still be considered low income. NBC Bears Ian Cole explains.
That's crazy.
New information from the state shows in Marin, San Mateo, San Francisco, and Santa Clara counties, a single person can be making over six figures and still be classified as low income. Nowhere is that more pronounced than in Santa Clara County, where people making under $111,700 a year are now defined as low income.
If you make $111,000 a year, it's you'll still have a hard time getting a spot here.
The number might be eye-popping to people outside the state, but some San Jose residents we spoke to say it's not that surprising when looking at local housing prices.
People are starting to have to live outside, live into different areas like Hollister and Los Banos just to be able to make it even. And, buying a house is next to impossible. I'm a college student, I'm working, and I can barely even afford to live here.
Kayla Guerrero was in the South Bay visiting family today, but moved away due to the high cost of living.
I made the decision to leave to a different county, to Placer County, and it's been a great experience. However, I'm away from family and friends and just everything that I knew as I was growing up.
It has gotten to the point where we're all affected, and we all know someone who could benefit from housing being more affordable.
Silicon Valley at Home advocates for more affordable housing in the region. They say for every affordable housing unit that goes on the market, the owners see at least 10 applications. The executive director says these new income numbers are proof more affordable homes need to be built now.
What that number really means is that, yes, the wealth is being generated, and there's still a lot of work to do to make sure that there's enough homes so that everyone can afford to live here.
She says the state's regional housing needs assessment that mandates cities build more housing has helped. The Santa Clara County Housing Authority told us while some households at the low-income level may qualify for state or local programs, they typically do not meet the eligibility criteria for our federal housing programs, which are targeted to very low-income households and below.
So you through. So even though you barely getting by, you can't even afford to live out here. You're not very low income. You can't even make the list. So you done. And I see why a lot of people leave the Bay Area because shit is cooked. You can't even survive out here. See, look at the comments. 100K is a new 30 to 40K. But yeah, this is bad out here. And who do you have to blame for this? All right. Esau Edom, aka the so-called white man. All right, because he's the one who set it up like this, man. You have here it is. You got this is where all the the technology companies start up at. Tesla, fucking Silicon Valley, Google, Facebook, Apple, all these tech companies that be out here. But then you can't even afford to live, the average American citizen, so to speak. They said, really it's like everywhere at this point, not even just in certain areas with the 6 figures not being enough. It's a lot of places in the Bay, if you're making over 100K, that ain't even, like they said in the comments, that's the new 30 to 40 because they taxing the shit out you. On top of expenses and everything else being high as hell too, and things are only getting more expensive as time goes on. And the ChatGPT that's going to go into that aspect of it. But first, I want to read this scripture right here. It's Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. All right, and who's in rulership? All right. We can go to Job 9:24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And who's the earth? Who's controlling the earth right now? Esau Edom, aka the so-called white man. All right, he's the one that calls the shots. He's the one that's dictating how things are ran. He's controlling everything, all right? And that's why everything is completely out of order, because you have the wicked in rulership. The earth was given to the hand of the wicked, all right? And look what he's done. On top of wickedness getting out of, wickedness is out of all-time high, all right? Pollution, all right? The food is hell. Everything's corrupt here. You can't even you can't even survive. And the type of society this devil set up is not even sustainable for you to even to live. Even though you so-called working or whatever, you can't even. It's like a waste of time, And that's what the ChatGPT was. I was talking when I was asking questions. It was going into that. So I asked the questions on there. I said across America, how many people are barely making ends meet in 2025? And then this is like based off the current data that it said. So people living paycheck to paycheck, it says, pretty much 62% of adults are living paycheck to paycheck. And it says, even among those earning over 100K, is 44 said they had little or nothing left over after paying expenses. So even if you're making six figures, you still ain't even making it. You know, you still barely hanging on by a thread. It says struggling to make ends meet beyond paychecks. It says, you know, this is based off of 20 for 24, but just over 1/3 of American adults report difficulty paying their usual household expenses, and 17% say it's very difficult. 19 is somewhat difficult. Really, it's more than that. You know, it said this. The other one says this. Reports that the bottom 60% of U.S. households still don't earn enough to afford a minimal quality of life, covering essentials plus things that like basic technology, education, and healthcare. And then in broader hardship in context, 1 in 3 Americans say their financial situation has worsened in the past year. Policies and cuts to social support, even for those not in outright poverty, have pushed millions of families into chronic instability, particularly hurting children. So who has done all these things, man? All right. Who made these things like this? Why is America set up like this? Isn't it supposed to be, you know, they paint the image as if you could become anything you want to become. You can make it. You could go to college, study, work hard, make something out of yourself. Hey, well, according to the data and statistics, man, even if you're making six figures, that ain't even enough. And how many jobs are even paying money like that? And it's starting to, like, this has been a, you know, Bay Area, what I'm talking about, but it's going to slowly get everywhere else as well, man. All right? Because it ain't going to just be over here that, you know, things going to be overpriced and not making sense. It's going to be happening, it's slowly happening in other states as well, man. It's just over here, it's happening first, so to speak. All right? But this shows you, like, where things are headed, man. Ultimately, if you can't survive and take care of your basic essentials, like it says, even if you so-called busting your ass, you can have 2 or 3 jobs, you still ain't even making it. You done. And that's gonna lead up to what? People want to rise up against the government, civil unrest, because like the dude Gerald Celente always say, when people lose it all, they lose it. And that's pretty much what you see going on now, man. All right. Everyone getting to the point to where they literally they just ready to give up, throw in the towel, because they can't even survive no more. Here it is, you done went to school, you did all this studying, you might have went to college, now you got college debt. All right. You tried to follow the so-called American dream, bought you a home, now you upside down because all the expenses and everything. And then what ultimately ends up happening to a lot of people that got homes, and then, you know, when things like what's going on now happens with the economy, where inflation is happening, the cost of living going up, but your wages don't match, and you flipped upside down now with your house, because you're going to end up losing it ultimately, and the bank going to take your shit, foreclose. Now you done. And then, like it was going into in that video, they building these low income houses. You gotta literally be in extreme poverty just to so-called qualify. If you're making like 60 or like, you know, 70, anywhere from like 70K and higher, or even 60K, I think that's still too much. You're still considered making too much money. Yet the statistics, you know, if you're still considered in poverty making 100K, how the hell can you survive if you making even anything under that? Showing you that this, you know, it's the damn devil you're dealing with, man. Hey, but it's the system is purposely designed like that, like I said, so that it can be, you know, poverty, so that it can be people at a low estate barely hanging on, because by you always being caught up in a rat race, now you're not focused on what's actually taking place. You're not focused on the one who's causing the problems, the one who's leading this place into destruction, the one who's getting ready to roll on you. All right, you're not focused on the things that all the moves that Esau's making, man. Because you still fixated on the the rat race. I got to go to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. You barely hanging on, so you stressed out, worried about money, worried about that, things of the world, man. And it's purposely designed like that, to keep you in that lower state. Because this devil don't want everybody to have a good good way of life or living, so to speak. But this is Ecclesiastes 12, and I'm gonna start from the top. Remember now the Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. And that's pretty much what you got going on now, man. All right, like the scriptures speak about the beginning of sorrows. Hey, the people, they ain't really having pleasure in living anymore, man. Because here it is, you strove to try to make something of yourself, so to speak. And now what? For you did it all for naught, You did all of this shit, and then you still ain't got nothing, You might see some people on social media. That's just the ones that's like dangling the carrot in your face. You seeing niggas on social media that made it. Because realistically, man, how many niggas really making it out here, man? It ain't that many. All right, the mass majority of people out here struggling in poverty, check to check, don't even know how they gonna pay they rent. It's real bad out here, and it's only gonna get worse. All right. Matter of fact, I want to grab something too before I forget. Yeah, this is Matthew 10 and Matthew 10 and 39. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. And that's pretty much what you got going on, man. All right. The ones in this society who, well, I'm gonna read it in the NLT as well. It says, if you cling to your life, you will lose it. And that's what these people are doing, man. They're clinging on to their life, clinging on to America, because that's where their hope is. And what's ultimately happening? You losing your life, man. You losing it. Here it is. You clinging on to clinging on to that American dream, having a house, making something of yourself, being a provider. All right. Trying to, chase the bag, so-called. And here it is, you making, in other states, it would look like it's a lot. But out here, you in poverty, making over 100, 6 figures. And like I said, same thing is going to be happening in other areas as well, even though it's starting out here, because California always been hell, what the cost of living and things like that. But it's just getting out of hand now to the extremes, because things are getting worse in society, with the jobs, cost of living, the gap between inflation with the prices and your wages, because it ain't keeping up. All right. But everybody who've been clinging to their life, which is the masses of the people in America, hey man, they losing it, and you seen them lose it. It's happening right in front of our eyes, man. People barely hanging on, losing their jobs, and then this AI shit is finna replace a lot of jobs as well. And people are, delinquencies on they credit cards and shit. They whips might be getting repoed. Hey, it's bad out here, man. All right, but what does it say? And anyone who receives me, receives the Father who sent me, like it says back in the KJV, and he that receiveth me. Wait, oh no, I read the wrong slide. 39, it says, if you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. And that's what we did, man. We said, to hell with this world, man. To hell with this life. All right. And what did we find, man? We found our real life, which is serving Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because this world is getting ready to be done away with. Here it is. You got dudes falling out, going back into the world where shit, it's done. And it's only going to continue to get worse. You're going back to a sinking ship. All right, the ones who want to try to go back and find a life now at the end, that's like you literally seeing the ship sinking, going underwater, get like the Titanic. You instead of you trying to go to a safety boat or a raft or whatever you want to call it, you want to go back on the the Titanic to try to find your life, and it's literally going down. But that's the masses of these people, 2/3 of our people, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. And it's only going to continue to get much worse as time goes on, man. All right. But you see the other points I wanted to take away. Yeah, the final takeaway, because I could read more, but you get the gist of it. The final takeaway: across America in 2025, a substantial portion of people, more than half, are merely scraping by from paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, around 1/3 are actively struggling to cover basic household costs. And when looking at earning enough for a paycheck plus a modest, stable life, most of the bottoms earning 60% simply can't. So it's done, man. More than half. That's over. Yeah, more than half of it ain't going to be specific, because really it's like the mass majority, man. More than half of the people in America is scraping by. It's not even like you're good, like you're cool. You're able to maintain, pay your bills, have money left over. No, they scraping, barely making it to the next week, barely making it to the next check. All right. Now this is I'm gonna wrap it up on this. This is 2nd Esdras 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that's right, man. All right. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, because the destruction is on the way, like it says in the next scripture, the next verse. All right. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. That's just on the way, man. You see the moves that Esau's making. He coming out with the Gideon program. All right. Trump coming out with the different sending the National Guard to different areas. All right. Hey, man, your destruction is drawing nigh. But the way that things are set up is set up to keep you distracted. That's why he has the folly, BS, and entertainment, as well as you already being distracted enough as is, just trying to fucking survive, So you don't even have time to sit back and even think or consider or look into what's going on as far as the average person. All right, because like I said, with Matthew the 10th chapter, verse 39, we already forsook our life. All right, we found our life in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So what? We're watching. We're paying attention. We ain't sleep like everybody else. We're awake now, because we were asleep when we were back in the world, but now we're awake. All right, we're standing upon our watch and seeing everything that's going on and filtering it through the scriptures and bringing it out, man, so that day doesn't overtake us as a thief in the night, and that we don't be caught up in these distractions and everything else like the rest of the people in the world, man. Caught up in a rat race, caught up in the ways of the lust of the flesh, the ways of the world, when everything's getting ready to go down. All right. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And why is it going to be sedition among men? Well, one of the reasons is this, like I just was going into and showing you. You can't even have a basic living circumstances in America. Not even living extravagant, the basics. You can't even do that here. You scraping by. You basically on the poverty can happen at any moment being out here. Miss 1 or 2 paychecks is over with. Don't lose your job. You know. It's bad out here, man. And it's only getting worse. And that's gonna be one of the many reasons for the sedition, as well as, you know, yeah, people not being able to afford the cost of living, man. People tired of the government. All right. Hey, this movie Civil War showed you, you know, that aspect of it, man. But it's going to be a combination of many things that just leads up to people finally reaching that point where, like the saying goes, that straw that broke the camel's back. You got everything just going to building up to the point where people just going to say, fuck it, you know. And it's going to lead up to that sedition among men. And they ain't going to care about the cops, right? Regarding their kings nor princes, talking about the governments, the powers that be. All right, they ain't gonna care about the police. They ain't gonna care about the National Guard. But that's why Trump already got them out there on the ground. And that's why they got these different programs, Gideon and all this other stuff. They gonna be rolling out, because it starts with one thing, then they gonna roll out multiple things, man. Just like how it started out with, you know, Neuralink. Now you got other companies making something similar, which is all still, at the end of the day, that mark of the beast system technology. All right. But you see where things are headed. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Why are you not going to be able to? Because things are going to be fucking locked down. Now you got the Esau talking about domestic terrorism. He tapping in with the AI, because it's going to be monitoring whatever you post online, whatever videos or audio. It's going to be picking up anything that's deemed as so-called terroristic. All right. So you're getting ready to come with that great wrath, man. As well as the people, these docile ass Americans are finally gonna get to the point to where they gonna raise up, man, and be tired of the bullshit that's been going on for so long. Verse 18, for because of their pride, cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's the times that we coming into, man. All right. We're in the beginning of sorrows, in the beginning of those times where a man ain't gonna have no pity upon his neighbor. All right. And they already don't now, especially out here in the Cali. People been robbing people broad daylight just cause. For basic need, for basic survival, not even out of like literal necessity. Like everything hit the fan and now you gotta find a way to eat. Hey, things is about to get ugly out here, man. And meanwhile, you got everybody caught up in the rat race, caught up in the things of the world, caught up in this so-called world in general. And like it said in Matthew the 10th chapter, man, they cling those that if you cling to your life, you're going to lose it. And that's what these people have been doing ultimately, man. They've been doing their best to cling on to this life here in America, which is coming to an end. And you're getting ready to lose it. But like I said, as for us, the ones who believe upon Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, we gave up our life, all right, in order to find it in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, all right, for that everlasting life. Because we understand that this isn't the end. All right, something better is soon to come, but this world has to come to an end first, okay? So the masses of our people, man, you're going to keep feeling that squeeze from Esau, all right, economically, as well as other things that's going to be happening as well in this society that's going to lead up, all roads lead to the MOTB. So he's creating that perfect atmosphere, so to speak, to make you more open to taking it. Because that's going to be your escape route. The only way that you see to still cling on to this life is by you taking that mark so that you could continue to live on in wickedness and in pleasure, man. And you only gonna do that for a brief moment, because at the end of the day, this place still gonna be destroyed ultimately by nuclear fire by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, man. All right. Hey, so with that, I'm gonna wrap up and give all praises and glory again to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rikakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone, and shalom to the Akim out there preaching His word, truth, sincerity. Shalom.